it is time for us to do a little review of your pretest. And remember, strongly, highly encourage you to get a piece of homework paper and take notes, because you'll be able to use those on the test. They will help you out immensely as reminders of things to do. So I can only ask. Here we go. Let's get this bad boy done. Looking at question number 1, and you can correct this as we go. Write 80% as a reduced fraction and as a decimal number. We have 2 answers there. 80% means out of 100, so 80% is 80 out of 100. Okay, out of 100, 80%. What can you divide those by? Because we have to reduce them. That is our fraction. We divide them both by 10, and you get 8/10. Now, it might be good for you to pause at this point, because you could stop right here for the decimal part, because this is what decimal it is. Decimals are in tenths, so we know that our decimal is 8/10. You cannot stop with that as far as the fraction goes, because you can divide those both in half again as well. So you get 4/5. So 8/10 is your decimal, and 4/5 is your fraction. Number 2, area of a triangle. Definitely write down the formula for the area of a triangle is area equals 1/2 base times height. Base times height. And remember, those 2 things have to form a right angle with each other. So what 2 lines on your triangle form a right angle? That would be this 16 and that 6. I don't need the 10s in there. So I do 1/2 of 16 times 6. Half of 16 is 8, and 8 times 6 is 48, and that's 48 centimeters squared. That would be my answer. So definitely write down that triangle there. 3/5 as a percent. Well, 3/5 as a percent. Remember, percent means out of 100. So if I can change my fraction so that it has 100 on the bottom, I will know my percent. So to go from 5 to 100, you multiply by 20. You multiply 3 by 20, you get 60. 60 hundredths is 60%. 60 hundredths is 60%. Problem number 4 asks you for the circumference of a circle, and again on your notes write down circumference equals pi times diameter. They tell you to use this for pi. I draw my circle. It has a diameter of 100 centimeters, which is good because I need the diameter. So it's just 3.14 times 100, and lucky for you, that, ladies and gentlemen, is that place where I say it is simply mental math. 2 zeros moves the decimal 2 places, so your answer is 314 centimeters. 314 centimeters. Some pretty easy, squeezy stuff there, kids, so far. Hopefully you're doing well and this is making some sense to you. Problem number 5, what is the perimeter of the parallelogram? And remember, perimeter is just the distance around. If it's a parallelogram, that means these opposite sides are equal. So the perimeter is going to be 10 plus 12 plus 10 plus 12. Adding those together, and it looks like I get 44 millimeters. 44 millimeters for problem number 5. Problem number 6, going back to that same shape there, from number 6, a parallelogram. The formula for a parallelogram, please understand this, is area equals base times height. It's not length times width. So as I go back to this parallelogram, I do not use 10 times 12 because those don't form right angles. I look for this right here where it gives me that straight up and down line, it should be 10 times 9 for my area. 10 times 9 for my area. So the area over here equals 10 times 9. And again, that's some pretty easy stuff. That's 90 millimeters squared. 90 millimeters squared. Oh man, they give us more. If angle A measures 50 degrees, what is the measure of angle C? Measure A equals 50 degrees. What is the measure of angle C? Well, I don't know where we talked about it here, but just please know that opposite angles are equal. They are the exact same thing. So just know if they ask you for which one, if they're two opposite angles, the measure of angle C is also 50 degrees. They are the same. If they ask you for the other two angles, if they did ask you for that, are the ones that would add up to 180 degrees. The other two angles, if I'm looking at this, angle B would have to equal 130 degrees, and angle D would also be 130 degrees, because these two side-by-side angles always equal 180 degrees in a parallelogram. Number 8, what is the ratio of chickens to goats in a barnyard with 12 chickens and 8 goats? Remember, when we do ratios, order is important. The first one given goes on chop, on chop. You have chickens on top and goats on the bottom, and the chickens are 12 and the goats are 8. You can leave it as improper, but it does need to be reduced. So I divide them both by 4 and I get 3 to 2. There are 3 chickens for every 2 goats. Problem number 9, the coordinates of 3 vertices of a rectangle are that. What is the coordinates of the 4th? Again, please do this on a piece of graph paper, or on your paper, your homework, your test paper there. Maybe I'll give you a piece of paper there, but here's what it would look like. Okay, we have a rectangle that is a 3 by 2, 1, 2, 3 by 2, or coordinates 3, 2. And it's a rectangle, so you know they're all right angles. And then we have one that's 3, -1. Those are my coordinates. And then I have -1, -1. So my fourth coordinate would have to, here my line gets connected, this line gets connected, this line would have to come over here. And it would have to be -1 for x. And how high would it be? Too high, because it's the same height as this one. So -1, +2 would be my 4th vertex. Number 10, if 3/4 of the 2,000 raffle tickets were sold, how many tickets were sold? Fraction problems, remember, if you draw your fraction, your rectangle here, this thing stands for 2,000 tickets. I am using the fraction 3/4, and 3/4 were how many were sold. If I cut 2,000 into 4 equal pieces, each piece is going to be, looks like 500. 500, 500, 500, and 500. How many tickets were sold? So 3 of those 4 pieces were sold. So that if you added those 3 together would be 1,500 tickets. 1,500 tickets. Problem number 11, write the difference in inches. 3 feet minus 10 inches. Remember, when we do this, since we're doing it in inches, we need to change them to the same unit of measurements. There are 12 inches in 1 foot. So if I have 3 of these, I have 3 12 inches, so it's 36 inches minus the 10 inches I'm taking away, gives me 26 inches left over. 26 inches left over. Well, we're making some serious progress now, kids. Problem number 12. Problem number 12, simplify. Remember, order of ops. And in order of ops, you know, it's PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Well, you've got your choice between these. I've got two multiplication things that need to be done first before the addition. And multiplication from left to right. 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times 5 is 10. Once I do that, I can add those together and get my answer of 22. Problem 13, I know the block you can't see very well, but you don't really have to be able to see it because the volume of a rectangular prism is length times width times height. You know, this is 12 inches long, 6 inches wide, 5 inches high. You just need to multiply 12 times 6 times 5. Again, you can multiply in any order you want. I might take the 12 times the 5 and get 60 and multiply that by 6 and get 360 inches squared. That might be the quickest way to do problem number 13. Problem number 14. Complete this proportion. This is one of those where you don't know 6 times what is 10. So this is where we have to use cross products. And cross products mean that the diagonals have to be equal. So 6 times what number equals 9 times 10. This diagonal multiplied together has to equal that diagonal. So 6 times what number is 90. This ends up being a division problem. 90 divided by 6, I'll do it over here for you, is 1 goes into 90, I get 30. 15 would be my answer for the letter W. W is 15. Problem number 15, you have to do, again, order of operations, which means you have to do this. 0.1 plus, remember the decimal in a whole number is at the end of it. 1.0 gives you 1.1, and then I have to do 10 minus that. So it looks like this, 10 point minus 1.1. Couldn't fill in some zeros there. Take away from the 10 because I need to borrow. This becomes a 10. Decimals line up. 1 from 10 is 9, and 1 from 9 is 8. 8.9 for my answer for that one. Problem number 87, 3 times what number is 0.45? Remember, if you think of an easier problem, let's say 2 times 8 is 16. If I didn't know that was an 8, what would I do with 16 and 2? I would divide, and I would divide the 16 by the 3. So I am dividing the 0.45, and this is important, by the 3. It's not the other way around. Okay, and remember, I don't need to move any decimals because there is no decimal in my divisor. It's only when the decimal is in the divisor that I have to move it. So this decimal is going to go straight up. 3 goes into 4 once, and 3 goes into 15 5 times. So n equals 0.15. Problem number 17. Adding and subtracting fractions get written up and down. 3 3/4 plus 1 5/8. My common denominator is 8. This one stays 5/8, but this one gets multiplied by 2. Multiplied by 2 ends up being 6/8. Plus 5/8 is 11/8. And 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 and 11/8 has some problems, mostly that I have an improper fraction there. I need to change this to a mixed number and then add the whole numbers together. If I divide 8 into 11, 11 divided by 8, I get 1 with 3/8 left over. I add the 1 to the 4 that I already have there. I get 5 and 3/8. 5 and 3/8. We're in the home stretch now, kids. Let's go with problem number 18. 2 1/2 minus 3/4. Again, making common denominators, I get a 4 and a 4. This becomes times 2 times 2. Here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. I can't take 3/4 from 2/4, so I have to borrow from the 2. It becomes a 1. What is my new top number over here? Please don't put a 1 up there and make it a 12. Remember, you add the bottom plus the top for your new top number. 4 plus 2 is 6. 3 from 6 is 3. Keep my same 4 there. And 0 from 1 is 1. So this ends up being 1 3/4. 1 3/4. Problem number 19, multiplying fractions. These are actually mixed numbers. Remember, the first thing you have to do is make them improper. That'd be a good thing to jot in your notes. 2 1/4. 2 times 4 plus 1 is 9/4. Make a whole number improper, you put it over 1. Then we multiply across. 9 times 2 is 18, and 4 times 1 is 4. Again, multiple problems here. It needs to be both reduced and changed to a mixed number. I like to reduce first, so I'm going to cut them both in half, and I get 9/2. Then if you divide 2 into 9, you get 4 whole things with 1 left over. 4 1/2. And then finally, the big finish, the toughest problem on the test, dividing by fractions. Step number 1, because these are mixed numbers, is you need to make them improper. Let's do that first. This becomes 5/1. 3 3/4, whole number times 3 times 4 is 12, plus 3 is 15/4. And this is still division. Now I flip it and I multiply. So it's 5/1. We flip the second fraction and I multiply it by 4/15. And here's where hopefully you can see this. We talk about this all the time. It's best if you can cross cancel. Since I have a 5 and a 15 and 5 goes into both of them, I'm going to divide them both by 5 right off the bat. This becomes a 1. That becomes a 3. Shaboom. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3. It's 4/3, but I can't leave it as 4/3. As a mixed number, 3 goes into 4 one time with 1 left over. So I end up with 1 1/3. Well, hopefully I did all those right 6th grade. There have been times when I've missed something, but please make sure for the test you have your notes that'll help you out. And I think we'll all be happy. Let me shut this down. And